The strange meeting. The human engineer moved slowly through the long metal corridor. His boots made a soft echo on the floor, and each step felt heavier than the last. The ship around him was silent, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of something waiting, watching, and breathing in the dark. He had been sent alone because no one else was close enough to reach the alien distress signal. The message had been broken, full of static, but one thing was clear. A royal ship from an alien empire was in trouble, and if it was lost, the cost would be huge. The human was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was just an engineer, a man who fixed things when they broke. But today, in this ship, far from Earth, he would face something more than broken wires. His small flashlight cut through the darkness. The walls were scratched, burned, and bent. Something had attacked this ship, something strong. The engineer felt a chill in his chest. He wanted to turn back, but the mission was clear: find the source of the distress call and help if possible. At the end of the corridor, he saw a heavy door half open. A weak blue light glowed from inside. He stepped closer, pushing the door wide with a loud creak. Inside was a strange chamber, full of machines, glowing pipes, and energy coils. In the center of it all was a tall glass capsule. And inside that capsule stood someone. It was a woman, but not a human woman. Her skin was silver with faint blue lines glowing like rivers under her skin. Her eyes were bright like stars. Her hair floated as if the air itself was alive. She was beautiful and strange, like something from a dream, and she was angry. When she saw him, she pressed her hand to the glass and shouted, "Human, hurry up and slide in already." Her voice was sharp, impatient, filled with urgency. The engineer froze in shock. His face turned red. "What?" he whispered, his voice shaking. The words sounded wrong, strange, and very embarrassing. The alien princess banged on the glass with her fist. "Do you not hear me? The power core is missing. It must be slid in, or the ship will die." Her voice cracked with desperation. The human blinked, his brain catching up. "Oh, the power core," he muttered, finally understanding. It was not some strange demand. It was a technical one. She needed him to fix the machine, not whatever else he had imagined. He stepped inside the chamber, trying to calm his heartbeat. Around the capsule, he saw the energy system half assembled. A glowing cube-shaped core lay on the floor, heavy and sparking with blue light. He moved closer and picked it up carefully, feeling its heat through his gloves. The princess shouted again, her voice echoing, "Quickly, human, before it is too late." He looked at the empty slot inside the machine. Yes, the cube was meant to slide in there. It seemed simple, but nothing about this ship felt safe. The scratches on the wall, the broken doors, the silence that was too heavy. He bent down and began to work, sliding the core closer. But then the ship trembled. A low rumble passed through the floor, making the machine shake. The human froze, his eyes darting to the shadows. "What was that?" he asked. The princess looked frightened now, her silver face pale. "They're still here," she whispered, her voice low. "They followed us inside. The predators, the hunters." The human's mouth went dry. He looked around, pointing his flashlight into the dark corners. For a moment, he saw nothing, only twisted wires and broken panels. But then, far down the corridor behind him, he heard it, a growl, deep and rough, like metal tearing against stone. Something was moving closer, slow and careful. Something that was hunting him. His heart pounded. He looked back at the princess, who pressed her hands against the glass, her eyes wide. "Human, you must hurry," she cried. "Slide it in, or the shield will fail, and they will come for us both." The engineer swallowed hard, sweat on his forehead. He lifted the core, hands shaking, trying to line it with the slot. The growl came again, this time louder, closer. He felt the vibration in his chest. Something was right behind that door, waiting. The human had fixed engines, reactors, and generators before, but never with his life on the line, never with a monster breathing down his neck. Still, he had no choice. He was the only one here. And this alien princess, whoever she was, depended on him. With a deep breath, he pushed the core forward. It slid halfway in, sparks flying around his hands. The ship trembled again, alarms blaring, lights flickering. He gritted his teeth and forced it deeper. The sound of claws scratching metal came from the corridor. The princess screamed, "Hurry, human! It's here!" The engineer turned his head. In the doorway, he saw two glowing red eyes staring at him. The predator had arrived, and it was waiting for him to fail. The misunderstanding. The human froze where he stood, his hands still gripping the glowing cube. Those eyes in the doorway were not human, not friendly, and not safe. They glowed like hot iron, sharp and watching. The predator stepped forward, and its claws scraped across the wall. The sound was sharp, metal on metal, like nails dragging across glass. The alien princess slammed her hands against the glass chamber. "Do not stop, human! Finish it, or we are both dead," she cried. Her voice was trembling, but strong with command. The human forced himself to breathe, try to push the fear down. He was only an engineer, not a fighter, but right now he had no choice. He slid the cube deeper into the machine, sparks flying as it locked halfway. The hum of energy grew louder, but the system was not stable yet. The predator hissed, its long teeth catching the dim light. Its body was tall, black, and twisted, with thick armor-like scales. Every step it took shook the floor, heavy and slow, like a beast that had all the time in the world. The human knew he had seconds, not minutes. He pushed the cube again, but it jammed. Something was wrong with the alignment. Wires bent, gears stuck. He hit it with his fist, trying to force it in, but it refused. The predator let out a low growl, stepping closer. Its claws dripped with something dark, something that burned holes in the metal where it fell. Acid, he realized. If this creature touched him, his suit would melt like paper. The princess shouted again, her voice louder, almost desperate. "Slide it in. Human, why are you so slow? You must push harder." The human snapped back without thinking. "It's stuck, it's not that simple." For a moment, he realized how absurd this all sounded. A beautiful alien princess shouting at him to slide it in, while a monster closed in. If he lived to tell the story, no one on Earth would ever believe him. But there was no time to laugh. The predator crouched low, muscles tense, ready to pounce. The human's eyes darted around the room, searching for anything, any tool. His gaze landed on a long metal rod, broken from the wall. He grabbed it with his free hand, sweat running down his face. The predator hissed, then leaped. The human swung the rod hard, slamming it into the beast's jaw. The strike knocked the predator sideways, crashing into the wall with a roar. The human turned back to the core, heart racing. Come on," he muttered, shoving the cube with all his strength. The machine sparked, the cube sliding a little deeper. The lights flickered, and for the first time, the ship gave a small hum of life. But it wasn't enough. The princess pounded on the glass, her eyes wide. "More, human, it must be locked fully. Do not stop now." The predator roared behind him, shaking off the hit. It stood again, angrier, faster, hungrier. The human knew he had no chance if it attacked again. But he also knew if he didn't finish this core, they would all be dead anyway. He pulled a tool from his belt, a small energy driver, and jammed it into the side panel. The machine groaned as he twisted the alignment back into place. Sparks burned his gloves, but the cube slid deeper. Almost there. The predator charged, claws raised. The human dove aside at the last second. The beast slammed into the machine, shaking the chamber. The princess screamed. The human rolled to his feet, swinging the metal rod again. He hit the predator's arm, forcing it back for a moment. But the beast was faster now, slashing across the air, inches from his chest. He ducked, sweat stinging his eyes. His arms ached, his breath burned, but he couldn't stop. The predator circled him, its red eyes locked. It hissed, a sound that rattled the air like broken glass. The princess's voice cut through the chaos. "Do not fight it, human. Finish the core. The shield will kill it. The human gritted his teeth, nodding. He couldn't win against the Predator, not with strength, but maybe with speed, maybe with human stubbornness. He threw the rod aside, spinning back to the machine. The Predator lunged again, but he shoved the cube in with a final scream. The lock clicked, and the machine roared alive. Blue energy poured through the chamber, the walls glowing with power. The Predator screeched in rage, slamming itself against the shield field. Its claws sparked, its body shook. Then with a burst of light, the shield threw it backward. The beast howled, retreating into the corridor, its body smoking. For now it was gone. The human collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. His arms shook, his chest heaved, but the machine was alive. The ship was not saved yet, but it was breathing again. The princess placed her hand on the glass, her eyes softer now. You did it, human, you saved me. But it is not over. The hunters never give up so easily. The human closed his eyes for a moment. He wished for a break, but he knew she was right. This was only the beginning. The hidden threat. The human sat on the cold floor, chest rising and falling. His gloves were burned, his arms sore, and his mind heavy. The machine behind him glowed, the power core finally in place. Energy pulsed through the cables, humming like a heartbeat. But that sound was not comfort, it was a warning. Because deep inside the ship, something else moved. The princess still stood inside the glass chamber, her silver hands pressed against it. Her eyes were sharp, but filled with worry. You must not rest, human. Not yet, she said, her voice low. He lifted his head slowly, groaning, what now? Her answer was not simple, not easy. They will return. The Predator was only one. The others are close. The words cut through him like ice. He had fought with everything he had and barely survived one creature. If there were more, how could he face them? The princess must have seen the fear in his eyes. She softened her voice, still strong but calmer. Human, you are not alone in this. The ship's shield is alive now, but the weapon systems are not. If you can repair them, we can fight together. He rubbed his face with both hands, sweat and dust on his skin. He wanted to argue, to say he was just an engineer, but the memory of those red, glowing eyes stopped him. If he gave up, if he ran, she would die, and maybe he would too. He stood slowly, his legs heavy but steady. Fine, he muttered. Tell me what to fix. The princess pointed toward the far wall. There, behind the panels, the weapon cores are hidden. One is still missing. The Predators took it, maybe to stop us, maybe because they eat the energy itself. The human frowned, sliding his flashlight across the walls. Scratches lined the metal, deep marks where claws had torn through. His stomach twisted. The Predators were not just hunters. They were smart enough to target systems. He moved toward the panels, tools in hand. The corridor beyond was dark, filled with shadows that stretched like claws. Every step echoed, and he hated the sound of his own boots. He felt like he was announcing himself to everything hiding in the dark. But he pressed forward because there was no other way. When he reached the wall panel, he knelt and began working. The screws were melted, wires torn, as if the Predator had ripped it open with purpose. He pulled the twisted metal aside, revealing the empty slot where the second core should be. He sighed, shaking his head. It's gone, just like you said. The princess's voice carried across the chamber, strong but sad. Without it, the weapons are useless. The ship cannot fight, and the Predators will return soon. The human leaned back, his shoulders heavy. Then where is it? Did they take it into the dark? The princess closed her eyes, her glowing hair drifting like mist. I can feel it, she whispered. The core is still on the ship, but not far. They hide it, guard it, because they know we need it. The human cursed under his breath. So it was not just repair, it was recovery. He would have to go deeper into this haunted ship, into the shadows where the Predators lived. He felt the weight of it in his chest, heavy like a stone. The ship groaned suddenly, a deep vibration that rattled the walls. The lights flickered, then dimmed. The human turned sharply, flashlight cutting through the dark. From the far corridor came the sound of movement. Claws scratching, tails dragging, low growls echoing. More than one this time, several. The predators were gathering. The princess slammed her palm against the glass, her voice sharp. They come for you. Human, do not let them take you. You must survive. You are the only one who can finish this. The human's throat tightened, but he forced a nod. He pulled the metal rod he had used before, the only weapon in his hands. It was bent, cracked, but better than nothing. The corridor grew darker, as if the shadows themselves were alive. And then he saw them. Not one, not two, but three glowing pairs of eyes. The predators stepped forward, teeth bared, claws dragging. Their bodies hissed with heat, their armor shining like black stone. They moved slow, careful, like hunters surrounding prey. The human's chest pounded, his breath sharp. He had no shield, no gun, no help. Only his tools, his hands, and his stubborn will. The princess shouted from her chamber, "Do not fight them all. Human, find the core, find it, and bring it back. It is your only chance." Her words burned into him. He could not win this fight, but maybe he could outsmart it. He backed away slowly, his eyes never leaving the glowing red ones. He needed a plan. He needed to find the core before these monsters tore him apart. The predators hissed together, the sound sharp and cruel. One lunge forward, claws slashing. The human dodged, stumbling, barely escaping. The metal rod clanged against the wall as he swung it. But his mind was already racing. If the predators guarded the missing core, he would have to follow them. The growing danger. The human moved backward into the shadows. His flashlight beam shook with every step. The predators followed slowly, their glowing red eyes never leaving him. They were patient, too patient, like hunters who knew their prey had nowhere to run. The air inside the alien ship was heavy. It smelled of burned wires, smoke, and something rotten. The human swallowed hard, his throat dry. Every instinct told him to turn back, to run. But behind him was the princess, still trapped in the chamber. And ahead was the missing core, his only chance to give the ship its weapons. The predators hissed, their bodies shifting in the dark. One scraped its claws against the wall, leaving long, glowing lines. Another growled low, the sound shaking in his chest. They were not attacking yet, only guiding him deeper. It was as if they wanted him to go, wanted him to follow them into their nest. The human's stomach turned. He hated this, hated walking where the monsters wanted him to walk. But he forced his legs to move. He was an engineer, he told himself. He knew machines, he knew systems, and monsters were just another system. If they had the core, there had to be a reason, a pattern, and if he could understand that, maybe he could win. The corridor opened into a wide chamber. Broken consoles and shattered panels covered the floor. Cables hung from the ceiling like black vines, sparking with faint blue light. In the center of the room, half buried under torn wires, he saw it. The missing core, glowing faintly like a heart still beating. His breath caught. There was the key. If he could grab it, the ship's weapons would return. If he could grab it, maybe they had a chance. But the predators spread out, circling the room. They moved slow, their claws clicking softly on the floor. One hissed and lowered its head. They were guarding it, waiting for him to make the first move. The human tightened his grip on the bent metal rod. His flashlight flickered, casting shadows that seemed alive. He took one step forward, then another. The predators hissed louder, their bodies shifting. He raised his voice, speaking to himself more than them. "I just need that core, nothing else, just that." The predators didn't care. One suddenly lunged, slashing at him with claws sharp as knives. The human jumped back, swinging the rod with all his strength. The hit landed on the creature's arm, sparks flying. The predator roared, backing off, but another stepped forward. 3 against 1, it was hopeless. The human's heart pounded, but then he remembered the princess's words. The predators want it, but not to destroy it. They need it, they guard it. Why guard something unless it was important to them? Maybe the core was more than energy. Maybe it was bait. The human forced his mind to work fast. If they wanted him close to the core, maybe there was a trap. He shined his light on the floor around it. The metal was wet, covered with thick slime. It hissed as the light touched it, steaming like acid. The predators hissed louder, almost angry. Yes, it was bait. The human's hand shook. If he stepped too close, maybe he would be trapped. But he couldn't walk away either. He licked his lips, breathing hard. Think, come on, think, he muttered. His eyes scanned the broken panels on the wall. One of them still hummed with faint power. A damaged energy conduit, sparking blue arcs into the air. An idea struck him. Dangerous, but maybe the only way. He could reroute the conduit, overload it, and blast the predators back. It might kill him too, but it was better than waiting to be torn apart. He crawled fast toward the panel, ignoring the hiss of the predators. His hands worked quickly, pulling wires, twisting connectors. Sparks burned his skin, but he didn't stop. The predators stepped closer, circling tighter. They knew he was planning something. One roared and leaped. The human yanked the final wire loose and jammed it against the wall. A burst of blue lightning exploded across the room. The predator screamed, its body shaking, smoke rising from its scales. The others staggered back, hissing in rage. The human used the moment, diving across the floor. He grabbed the glowing core with both hands, its heat burning his gloves. He pulled it free from the wires and rolled to his feet. The predators recovered fast, their red eyes burning hotter. They roared together, furious. The human clutched the core to his chest and backed toward the corridor. He swung the rod wildly, keeping them just out of reach. His chest burned, his arms ached, but he refused to stop. Step by step, he forced himself back toward the princess's chamber. The predators followed, slower this time. They didn't lunge, they didn't rush. They just followed, growling deep. It was not over, not even close. The human knew this. He had the core, yes, but he had also taken something they wanted, and hunters never gave up on their prey. When he finally reached the chamber, the princess's eyes widened. Her glowing hands pressed harder to the glass. "You have it," she breathed, almost in disbelief. The human nodded, breathless. "Yeah, but they're still coming." The princess looked past him, her eyes narrowing. Her voice grew sharp, commanding again. "Then we must act fast, human. Slide it in, before the ship falls to darkness again." The human turned toward the weapon systems. The predators hissed in the corridor behind him, and he realized this was no victory. It was only the next step in a hunt that was far from over. The attack. The human's hands shook as he carried the glowing core. It was heavy, burning hot through his gloves, but he refused to let go. The princess's eyes followed him, sharp and desperate. "Hurry! Human, place it inside. We are running out of time," she cried. Her voice echoed through the chamber, sharp like a blade. Behind him, the predators hissed in the corridor. Their claws scraped against the walls, a sound that made his bones ache. They were closer now, not creeping but charging. They had lost their prize, and now they wanted blood. The human swallowed, sweat dripping into his eyes. He staggered forward, dragging his tired body to the weapon console. The slot for the core waited, glowing faint and hungry. He lifted the cube, muscles screaming. Come on," he muttered under his breath. The cube slid halfway in, sparks bursting across the console. The ship shook, as if it was waking from a long sleep. Energy pulsed through the walls, the hum growing stronger. The predators roared in fury, the sound shaking the metal around him. The first predator lunged through the doorway. Its massive frame slammed against the floor, claws tearing grooves into the metal. The human spun, grabbing the bent metal rod. He swung hard, the rod clashing against its jaw. The predator reeled back, but another jumped in behind it. 2 against 1 now, and a third shadow waiting in the hall. The princess screamed, slamming her hands against the glass. "Do not stop. Human, finish the connection. The weapons need the full core." But the predators didn't wait. The first slashed its claws across the floor, sparks flying as the metal split. The second lunged at the human, jaws wide. He dodged, barely, feeling the heat of its breath on his neck. His heart thundered in his chest. He couldn't fight them like this, not with only a rod in his hands. He needed the ship alive, needed the weapons. He ducked another slash, then grabbed the cube with both hands. He shoved it deeper, ignoring the sparks burning his gloves. The console groaned, lights flashing red. But the lock was not complete. The predators roared, furious. One slammed into him, knocking him across the floor. The cube nearly slipped from the slot. The human rolled, coughing, pain shooting through his ribs. The predator loomed over him, claws raised, but he jammed the rod upward, stabbing into its jaw. The beast screamed, staggering back, blood dripping like black fire. The second predator lunged, smashing into him. He hit the ground hard, air blasting from his lungs. The princess's voice cut through his pain. "Human, you must finish it now, or we are lost." Her words burned in his ears. He forced his shaking body to crawl back to the console. The predators roared, slamming into the walls, claws tearing at the floor. The cube was still half-slid, pulsing with unstable energy. He grabbed it again, pushing with every ounce of strength left in his arms. The machine screamed, sparks exploding. The predators lunged together, claws outstretched. The human let out a roar of his own. He slammed the cube fully into place. A blinding flash filled the chamber. The walls glowed blue, energy bursting like thunder. The predators screamed as arcs of light tore across their bodies. Their claws sparked against the shield field, their armor cracked. They staggered back, writhing, their red eyes burning with rage and pain. The ship had come alive, and it was fighting back. The human collapsed against the console, panting. His arms ached, his chest burned, but he didn't let go. The princess's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "The weapons are online. Human, hold them back a moment longer." He forced himself to stand, rod in hand. The predators hissed, shaking off the blasts. They weren't dead yet, not finished. They spread out, circling him again, smarter this time. One slash from the left, another from the right. The human blocked one strike, then rolled under the second. His body screamed with pain, but his mind refused to quit. The princess raised her glowing hands inside the glass. Symbols burned across the walls, alien runes shining bright. The ship's cannons hummed, charging with power. "Keep them busy, human," she shouted, "just for a few breaths more." The predators rushed him, claws flashing like blades. The human swung his rod again and again. Every strike was desperate, raw, fueled by survival. One predator bit down, teeth clamping on the rod. The metal bent, sparks flying. The human kicked hard, slamming his boot into its jaw. The rod snapped, broken in two. His weapon was gone. The predators hissed in victory, ready to tear him apart. But then the chamber shook. The cannons roared, firing bursts of blue light through the walls. Beams of energy slammed into the predators. Their bodies twisted, their roars turned into screams. One was thrown against the wall, burning. Another staggered back, half its armor melted. The third tried to run, but the shield blasted it down. The human collapsed again, chest heaving. His ears rang, his skin burned, but he was alive. The predators lay scattered, smoking broken. The princess pressed her hand to the glass, her eyes wide with awe. "You did it, human," she whispered. "You held them long enough." The ship pulsed with life, stronger now. But deep in the corridors, the human heard more echoes. Not one, not three, but many. The hunt was not finished. The predators were endless, and they were coming. The human leaned against the console, breathing hard. He looked at the princess, forcing a tired smile. "This isn't over, is it?" Her glowing eyes met his, sharp and serious. "No, human, this is only the beginning." The final push. The chamber shook like thunder. The air was hot, filled with smoke and sparks. The human leaned against the console, his chest rising and falling in heavy breaths. He had survived the attack, but only barely. His gloves were torn, his arms burned, and his rod was broken. He had nothing left but his hands, his mind, and his will to live. The princess's glowing eyes followed him, her face sharp with urgency. You cannot stop now. Human, the predators are endless. We must activate the full defense, slide the final sequence, or all will be lost. Her words hit him like stone. He wanted to shout, to tell her he had given everything already. But the sound of the corridors silenced him. Dozens of footsteps, claws scraping, tails dragging. The predators were gathering again, more than before. Their growls echoed like thunder rolling through a storm. The human turned his head slowly. The corridor behind him glowed red with their eyes. Not 3, not 5, but dozens. A tide of hunters, waiting for their chance to swarm. He gritted his teeth, his throat dry. This was not a fight he could win. This was survival against the impossible. The princess raised her hands inside the glass, her voice sharp. The ship's main cannon can destroy them, but must be fully armed. Human, one last sequence, slide the override and lock it. Only you can do it. The human staggered toward the console again. His body screamed, his ribs ached, his vision blurred. But he pressed his hands against the glowing panel. Symbols flickered across the surface. Alien runes he barely understood. He whispered under his breath, "Just machines, that's all this is. I fix machines. I always fix machines." The predators roared in the corridor. One slammed its massive body against the doorway. The wall shook, sparks raining from the ceiling. The human jumped, his hands slipping on the console. The cube pulsed, energy unstable. The ship screamed, warning alarms flashing red. He pressed harder, sliding the override key with shaking fingers. But it resisted, stuck halfway. The princess slammed her fists against the glass. "Slide it in. Human, do not stop. The lock must be complete." Her voice was desperate, her silver hair glowing like fire. The human clenched his jaw, sweat dripping down his face. He slammed his shoulder into the console, forcing the key deeper. Sparks burst. The ship roared, but the lock was still not finished. The predators howled and charged. The doorway exploded in sparks as their bodies slammed through. The human spun, heart hammering, the room filled with their claws, teeth, and burning red eyes. He grabbed a broken piece of pipe from the floor. It was small, weak, but better than nothing. He swung it wildly, striking one in the face. The beast staggered, but another slashed across his arm. Pain tore through him, hot and sharp. He stumbled, blood running down his sleeve. The princess screamed, "Human, finish it now, or we both die." Her voice was raw, almost pleading. The human gritted his teeth, shoving the predator back with the pipe. He dove at the console again. He slammed his bleeding hand onto the override. He pushed with everything left inside him. The lock slid deeper, but still not fully. The predators closed in. One knocked him to the floor, jaws snapping near his throat. He shoved the pipe into its mouth, struggling as its teeth bit down. Sparks flew from the metal as it bent. He roared with effort, twisting, shoving the beast aside. He rolled back to the console. The predators swarmed, their claws scraping the walls. The princess's voice cut through the chaos. "One last push, human, just one more." He looked at her, her glowing eyes fierce. Something inside him lit up, something old and human. He thought of Earth, of the endless sky, of survival against every odd. He thought of how humans had always been underestimated, always weaker, always smaller, but never broken. He clenched his fist, blood dripping, and slammed it into the override. The console screamed, sparks exploded, and the lock slid into place. A deep hum shook the ship. The walls glowed, the air burned with blue light. The predators roared in fury, sensing what was coming. They leaped at him together, claws raised, teeth wide. But before they could strike, the ship's main cannon fired. The sound was not a sound, but a quake. A wave of pure energy burst through the walls. The predators screamed, their bodies twisting, burning, shattering into smoke. The chamber shook, the air cracked like lightning. The light was blinding, the heat unbearable. The human fell to his knees, covering his face. The roar of the cannon drowned out everything. When the light faded, silence fell. The predators were gone. The air was heavy with smoke and ash. The human collapsed on the floor, chest heaving, vision dark. The princess pressed her hand against the glass, her face soft now. "You did it, human," she whispered. "You finished the final push." But before he could answer, alarms flared again. The ship shuddered, and through the walls came a sound far deeper. Not claws, not growls, but engines massive and countless. The princess's eyes widened, her voice low with dread. The hunters were only the beginning, human. Now their masters arrive. The human's eyes fluttered, heavy with exhaustion. But his heart pounded because he knew she was right. The fight was not over. It was only about to begin. The resolution, future hook. The human lay on the floor, his chest rising and falling. His body was broken, his arms burned, his ribs aching with every breath. But he was alive, and so was the alien princess. The chamber glowed faintly, the machine steady at last. The hum of the ship was strong now, alive again. But the silence outside was not peace, it was warning. The princess stepped forward, pressing her silver hand against the glass. Her glowing hair drifted like liquid light, her eyes sharp but soft. "You have done the impossible, human," she whispered. "You fought the hunters, you restored my ship, you saved me." Her voice was heavy, as if even she could not believe it. The human coughed, a weak smile on his face. "Not sure about saving, princess, feels like I almost died." She tilted her head, studying him with curious eyes. "You almost did, yet you did not, and that is why humans are different." Her words echoed in the chamber, filled with something deeper than thanks. He frowned, lifting himself slowly. "What do you mean?" The princess pressed closer to the glass. "Many species fight, but only humans fight when they know they cannot win. You stand when all others would fall. You push when the end has already come. And that is why you survived." The human leaned back against the console, her words sinking in. He wanted to laugh, to call it nonsense. But deep inside, he knew she was right. Humans had always been stubborn, always too foolish to quit. And maybe that foolishness was strength. The ship shook suddenly, a deep vibration that rattled his bones. He froze, his eyes darting to the ceiling. "What now?" he whispered. The princess's face darkened, her glowing eyes sharp with dread. "They have come," she said softly. "The hunters were only beasts, but the masters are worse. They command fleets, they consume worlds, and they will not forgive what you have done." The human's stomach turned. Through the cracked window of the chamber, he saw them. Dozens of ships, black and sharp, sliding through space like shadows. Their engines burned red, their weapons glowing with hunger. It was not a patrol, it was an army. He felt small, smaller than ever. How could one human fight something like that? The princess looked at him, her voice calm but strong. "You will not fight them alone, human. You will fight with me." He blinked, confused. "With you? I'm just an engineer, not a soldier." Her lips curved into something like a smile. "Today, you were more than a soldier. You were a shield, and I will not let you leave. You will serve as my protector, my engineer, and perhaps my chosen." The human's face flushed. "Chosen? I don't even know your name." Her glowing eyes softened. "My name is Serenia, princess of the Starborn line, sworn heir of the celestial throne." The words carried weight, heavy like iron. He stared, then let out a weak laugh. "Of course, I rescue a princess, and she turns out to be royalty of the galaxy." The ship shook again, alarms flaring. The fleet outside moved closer, weapons charging. The princess straightened, her eyes blazing. "Human, the fight ahead will decide, not just this ship, but worlds beyond. If I fall, my people fall. If we win, the galaxy will know that humans are more than shadows in the void." The human forced himself to his feet, his body screaming. He gripped the console for balance, staring at her with tired eyes. "I came here to fix a machine, princess, not to fight a war." She met his gaze without flinching. And yet you are here, human, and fate does not ask what we want. It only asks what we will do. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Then the human nodded slowly. All right then, Serena, if we're doing this, let's do it right. Her glowing lips curved into a true smile. Yes, human, together. The ship roared as its weapons armed fully. Cannons glowed, shields flared, engines screamed. The human took his place at the console, Serena at his side within the chamber. Outside, the black fleet spread across the stars, endless and hungry. Inside, one human and one alien princess prepared to fight them all. The human closed his eyes for a breath. He was tired, broken, and afraid. But he was also human, and humans never stopped, never surrendered. Not on Earth, not in space, not anywhere. The fleet's weapons flared. The princess's voice rang like steel. Ready yourself. Human, the war begins now. The human opened his eyes, his hands steady on the console. Let them come, he whispered, and the ship dove forward into the fire.